Welcome back, everybody. Day 4 of Hi-Fi Summit. We've got SVS in the house. We've got the Larry and a Nick.
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 How
you guys?
Wow.
How you guys doing? How you guys doing?
We're doing
great.
Leave after that intro, Jonna.
I think Nick's got a new nickname, so
I like
that's
it.
great.
A Nick.
A Nick.
That's too much. That's too much. How are you guys doing? What's going on in where you Youngstown? Is that where we're at? Where you guys are at?
Yeah, so SVS is based in Youngstown, Ohio, and actually one of the fastest growing businesses in Youngstown, Ohio, I might add, which, talk about the competition, but that's okay. We're still up and coming. We're trying to bring a lot of, jobs and fun to Ohio. But actually, Larry is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I am in picturesque Portsmouth, Rhode Island, right near Newport. So we are virtual, away from Ohio as well. But we're doing just phenomenally, and I can't speak for Larry. But Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good too, man. We're finally seeing fall, so it's nice.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I smoked a turkey today, Larry. Me and Larry are big into making meat. So yeah, I was practicing because I got a couple people coming over on Thanksgiving. So trying to get the practice bird in.
Right, right. You got to get that practice in. You don't want it to be like one of those National Lampoon's Thanksgivings, right?
No,
you don't want to
never
live
that down.
That's funny.
I had to learn how to carve a turkey. When we moved up here, because my wife really likes Thanksgiving, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how do I do this thing? So hey,
well, for Ian who asked, it's a Pit Boss smoker. It's one of those wood pellet smokers. So I'm not quite into the hardcore game, like doing it with my own big chunks of wood, but it certainly makes it easy. And I used apple wood, and I used actually a rub that Larry you recommended, the Meat Church honey, whatever that honey one was.
Honey hog.
There you go.
There you go.
All sorts of plugs out here.
I love how the conversation's starting too. Talking about smoke. You know why it is, folks, is because they do their a regular thing. How often do you guys do it? Every week?
Every 2 to 3 weeks. Usually every 2 weeks. Sometimes we go 3 weeks.
Yeah, where you have a live stream, and so pretty much you've covered a lot of things in all of those. So now we're down to
turkeys, man.
Turkeys.
Yeah, we're talking food.
We got plenty of audio to talk about too, but I figured we're getting into that time of the year, and I see Larry's got his festive T-shirt on, so why not have a little seasonal talk?
Yeah,
very cool, man.
The lake shirt today, so
there it is. So what else do you want to talk about? Can you?
So actually, I thought it would be interesting. We brought some, we did some videos to be a part of this event, and I think there's been a lot of talk about SVS. We're known as a subwoofer company, and certainly we started for the first 10 years of our existence building these big cylinder subwoofers and these sort of dual port or multiple driver behemoths built in a garage in Youngstown, Ohio. So really sort of starting off as a mom and pop almost type shop, trying to bring a level of performance for the price that just wasn't existent in the marketplace at the time. And this, for this show, we've actually evolved quite a bit from now until then. We have wireless audio products, we have accessories, and we have height effect speakers. So we've really sort of tried to expand from our subwoofer game into a more full-fledged audio brand. And that's kind of what we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about today. We have some big new products coming out at the beginning of next year, which, if you know us, we don't tease, we don't give you little hints or secrets, but SVS is going to hit strong at the beginning of 2021. So I will say that much, but for the time being, we have some great products that are available now and that are gaining a lot of momentum. So I thought maybe the sound base, Larry, you could give a little teaser overview about what that is, and if you guys had questions or have had experiences with it, we could say, oh, well, look at that, man comes prepared.
Still have one. I didn't know we were going to talk right about sound base off the bat, but we are known for subs, we are known for speakers. But about 2 years ago, we introduced our first foray into multi-room audio. And we introduced 2 products. One was called the Prime Wireless Sound Base, which is what I have right here in my hand. It is a 2-channel, 300-watt Class D digital amplifier that does Bluetooth, that does optical, it does analog. It's got a headphone jack here on the front. Can even connect to your network to do streaming in high resolution 24/192 FLAC files with a great DAC that's inside here. You use the new DTS Play-Fi app, so it operates very similarly to other multi-room audio products that are out there. Difference being you can mix brands. So with SVS, we have the Soundbase, and we have another product called the Prime Wireless Speakers, which is a 2-channel pair of speakers that do a lot of the same functionality as the amplifier, but they're their own ecosystem with their own speakers. This, you just hook up your own speakers or in-wall, in-ceiling, or you can use it as a streamer with the left and right, if I can point correctly here, left and right analog outputs to go to an existing legacy system to bring it on your network. But you can put them all over your house, and it operates very much like the other multi-room products. But like in here, my arcade over here behind me, this is where that amplifier normally is. And then behind me is a 5.1.2 system that's powered by a basic Onkyo receiver, and they talk via the DTS Play-Fi app. And I have a set of speakers in the bedroom, a set of speakers in my kids' room, and a set of speakers downstairs, along with the pair that's here on my desk. And they all talk to each other via the Play-Fi app, and we can do multi-room streaming or everybody listen to their own thing. And it's all powered via your network and can be either off the Soundbase amplifier or our Prime Wireless speakers.
But I think
that's a powerful little amp too.
It is.
Yeah,
amp right there. I've used that. That thing has some power. What is the rating on it?
It's 150 watts by 2 Class D, so 300 watt total power. I've hooked them up to bookshelves, satellites. Here they're on my Prime bookshelves on top of the arcade. We've used them at shows with our Ultra Towers, so they can really power anything in our lineup and almost anything you're going to come across out there on the market.
Yeah, it's got subwoofer output, and I think it was important for us both with the Soundbase and the Prime Wireless speaker system to have the full 192 kilohertz 24-bit DAC, but then also Wi-Fi, the ability to stream Tidal, Amazon Music HD, Qobuz at that ultra high resolution. We wanted to create a fidelity first wireless audio solution, both with the speakers and with the Soundbase, and then obviously still have all that convenience of app control, multi-room, and being able to work with different brands. But when you want to stream wirelessly, you don't have to compromise on the fidelity. So that was an important point that we really tried to work in here, both with the DAC but also the DTS Play-Fi app, which allows what's called critical listening mode, and that's essentially streaming at that ultra high resolution fidelity, 192 kilohertz 24-bit. So I think for somebody who's truly looking for that modern audiophile, that modern hi-fi experience without really any compromises, it's really a good solution for that type of person.
What's the price on that?
The Soundbase is $499.99, and then the Prime Wireless speaker system, which is a pair of speakers, and I don't want to discount that, because if you have listened to like a soundbar that claims to be stereo, and even some of those like really cheap little Bluetooth speakers claim to be stereo, it's not the same as if you have two separate speakers providing that real stereo image. And if you've listened to enough 2-channel systems, it kind of hits you. You kind of just get it when you hear it. But anything that sort of promises to be stereo and it's just like a little dinky sort of Bluetooth, I would argue that's not the same experience. So it was important for us to have 2 speakers so you could get that rock solid image with all the other features that we mentioned as well.
And the speaker here is $599.
$599. Thank you.
So when you say like stereo not really being stereo, that's like what we have here on our phones, right? Because this is stereo, right? That's what they tell us. That's what they tell us.
Something like that.
That's Atmos, bro. What are you talking about?
It's Atmos? Oh man.
Yeah.
Look
Well,
out.
there are phones that have Atmos, but the only way you get it is if you toss it up in the air whenever you're watching something.
There you go.
Yeah, right. You toss it up. Oh my gosh, there it is.
Spin it around a couple times.
There it is. It's above my head. Well, I totally get what you're saying with the you gotta have stereo spread. You gotta have the speakers, the sound coming at you from maybe like 5 feet in between, 6 feet, something like that.
Yeah, it's that equidistant triangle. If you're in the true audiophile mode, where it's perfect triangle between your listening area and your 2 speakers. But they're pretty forgiving. They have great dispersion characteristics, and I think because the tweeters outside the driver, it sort of provides a wider sound field as well. So I mean, there's got some advantages where you don't have to have that perfect equidistant triangle, but it does make a difference. And I think when people hear it, they actually get it. But there's just the popular notion now is to have a single speaker that promises to do stereo, but there is a difference, I would argue.
Yeah, and if you look at the category, there's powered bookshelves that are out there from other manufacturers, and they're typically a Bluetooth speaker and maybe have an optical or a line in. This, whether it's the Soundbase amplifier or the speakers, not only are they a stereo powered product, but they have optical connections, analog connections, left and right output on the amplifier to go to a legacy product, full range subwoofer out on the Soundbase, a active subwoofer output on the Prime Wireless speakers. And then I can do multi-room streaming. You can do your Pandora, Spotify, Tidal, Qobuz, all that. And instead of being Bluetooth, it does 24/192 high-res FLAC via your network, either wired or wireless, which you are not getting on really anything else in this category. The other thing you can do, like today's Sunday, and if you had people over, and when you could, say the Super Bowl was on, you could run an optical input from your cable or satellite box or game system, whatever, and then broadcast that to every other Play-Fi capable product in your home and really have a full-on party utilizing every single piece of equipment in your house. So it's really very different, both the Soundbase and the Prime Wireless speakers, from anything else in the category.
Yep. And I did see a question about does it have a wireless subwoofer signal? And the answer is that it has a subwoofer connection, so you could hook up any solution. But we have what's called the SoundPath subwoofer wireless subwoofer adapter, and that actually can send a full range wireless signal. So you could connect that adapter to the Soundbase and get a wireless subwoofer signal, get rid of that cable clutter, or even use it for like a pair of powered surround sound speakers. Because it is full range, or power a different component separate from your AV receiver. So there are options if you want to create a wireless subwoofer connection from that Prime Wireless Soundbase. Getting some props on the T-shirt.
Represent, man.
Yeah, I think the blue tuxedo shirt I wore a few weeks ago went over the best. So.
Yeah, I have to bring that one back.
So
what else did we miss?
So we had a speaker the other day, a seminar, and a lot of people recommend at least 2 subs, and he said 3. You should go with 3. What do you guys think about that?
Well,
3, 4, 7,
yeah,
whatever your budget allows. No,
yeah.
I mean, Larry, I'll let you take it from the more.
Nick is like, we have plenty to choose from.
I mean, we only have
different
13
shapes,
different models.
sizes. Yeah.
You'll send a pallet, right? Just a pallet of subs if they want
it.
Yeah, and I think I know the conversation you're talking about, and there's all kinds of different opinions that creating the triangle, which is what some people like to do. Some brands talk about. Yeah. It really just comes down to what you can fit in your room, what you're capable of doing, what you like, what you can sometimes afford. We're proponents of 2 or more. If you can only fit 1, put it in the best spot. But if you can do 2, absolutely, let's get 2 and make yourself give you more headroom, give you more volume, give you more low frequency, better sitting area, all of that. I don't have duals anywhere in my house. They're all single driver systems in each room of the house that we have a theater in. But once you get them tuned right and in the right spot, they can take on a lot of space. But if you can do 2, do 2.
Aside from, of course, having the subs pointed directly at each other, which of course is not good. Is there such thing as too many? Let's say if I had like 1 in each corner or something like that. Is there going to be issues after a certain point?
I would say there's just a diminishing return. I mean, for one, you're going to be paying for output you're never going to use. If you have so much headroom where like the only way you're ever going to dial it up even past 25%, you're like making your ears bleed. It's like, why spend that much money? Go with the right amount of bass to like your listening preferences. You can still hit that reference volume. You can still make your room shake, get punched in the chest, have all that fun of having, kick-ass bass, but like, it's not as much just extra headroom that you're never going to get to. So we try to walk people through the process of finding the right subwoofers that match for your speakers, for your listening preferences, and for your room. It's sort of those 3 things. And budget is obviously a part of that as well. But those 4 factors are really what's going to determine, the right amount of bass for you, or the right, pair or 4 or 6 subwoofers that will fit your room and your listening taste. So, I think there's a certain formula there, but it's not always exact science, because some people do like to listen at that beyond ear splitting level, and some people like to have it a little bit more refined. So it really just comes down to a lot of, different variables like that.
Yeah, like this guy.
Yeah.
Which one?
This
like
guy right here.
It was that guy.
Oh,
that guy.
whatever, man.
Ears splitting.
Why do you want to blame
Almost
me?
like cheek splitting, right? It's just shaking everything.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Martin asked
Cheek
if
splitting.
3 subs would not be
Does
unbalanced.
it finally registers?
I mean, what about this guy? I mean, this is a little extreme here.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's
more
hilarious.
cowbell, dude.
He's got me beat.
So Martin, I'm sure you guys, I know the answer to this, but maybe you guys can talk about this. Why 3 subs might not be unbalanced?
Once you get it tuned right, and do your phase and any other adjustments you need to make, they would not be unbalanced.
They can play very nicely.
Yeah, and there's one brand that really talks up 3, and it's a story that you can tell. You can do 3 if you'd like. I think most people tend to go in singles or pairs or add by 2 from there. 4 corners of your room, you end up probably having your subs a little lower than you normally would. Like Nick was saying, the diminishing returns, because it will get to where it's too overpowering if the room's not the right size or if you go too big. So I think a lot of it comes down to getting the right subs for your room, getting them tuned right.
Yeah.
And then making sure all your crossovers and phase and stuff are correct too.
And once you have that all set, shouldn't it kind of operate as one big sub, almost as one unit?
Yeah, if you can pinpoint where the bass is coming from, then you don't have it tuned right. And I think I kind of enjoy going, oh heck, there it is. But that's just because I'm being kind of stupid when I'm trying new movies at home and stuff. But if I'm listening to my system and just trying to enjoy it, I don't want to know where the subwoofer is. I want the entire room to feel like it's being part of that.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, it's supposed to sound like the bass is coming from each individual speaker or each different part of your surround sound system. And if you have a 2-channel system, even just permeating the entire room, you don't want to be able to localize like Larry was saying. But whether anytime you go above 1 subwoofer, all of that just sort of gets decreased. It becomes much more forgiving. Placement gets much more forgiving. That localization sort of starts to go away, regardless of where the placement of the duals or the triple subwoofers are. So it just sort of negates a lot of the issues you get from having a single subwoofer. And that's a lot of reasons why we recommend, 2 smaller subwoofers versus 1 larger one, if you have that option, in your listening room.
And is it good to have them all be the same? Is it better?
In an ideal scenario, they're all the same. I will say you can certainly blend ported with ported cabinet and sealed with sealed cabinet. If you start mixing ported cabinet and sealed cabinet, you'll get phase issues. And that's when the bass is sort of misaligned. And then you're just going to get sort of an inaccurate, unconvincing experience. It'll still sound loud and boomy, but it's just not going to be as crisp and clean. And the bass isn't going to blend together as well with the speakers and provide that sort of seamless experience, of surround sound or, whatever you're listening to.
Yeah.
What if they were like different sizes of like woofer, like a 10 and a 13, like what you guys have? Like, is it okay to do that, or is it preferable to just go with 1 size?
It is always preferable to match them in terms of driver size and amplifier power, but if they're close to the same, like I wouldn't mix one of our SB1000s with like an SB16 Ultra, like our modest with our biggest and flagship. Yeah. But you can certainly mix the 1000 and the 2000 Pro, or if the drivers are relatively close to size, then a lot of that will blend together fine. We just really strongly recommend against sealed with ported. But again, if it's sealed, ported, you're generally going to be okay blending them together, especially with the app and some of the features that you now have at your disposal.
Yeah. And if you start mixing brands, that's where you start getting one that might be more powerful than the other. And, there's amp ratings from manufacturers out there that say they're, it's 1,000-watt amplifier. And, that number does kind of jump out a lot of people. But, if you start mixing brand A with brand B and they have completely different philosophies, even though they're both sealed, one may overpower the other, and you may not even notice the other one.
Right. And the SVS one will just be better, right?
You said that, but we're not going to argue.
Yeah, we're not going to no clickbait headlines or nothing.
I'm sure you guys have answered this many times, but let's say for somebody who listens to music 50% of the time and home theater 50% of the time, and they're trying to choose between 1 ported versus two sealed for whatever reason.
Well, probably due to space, because the ported ones are a lot bigger. So
right, because that's a question we kind of get often is 2 sealed versus 1 ported.
In the same line, same series, same
series, yeah.
Yeah.
What do y'all
Sometimes
think?
it's two sealed in a lower series versus one ported
Yeah.
in
Yeah, 'cause
another
they're looking at
series.
cost
So
factor.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'd probably typically recommend going dual just because of the stuff we talked about earlier with the better headroom, more volume,
benefits,
more capabilities, room blending, all that. Another perk though of our ported subs, anything from the 2000 Pro and above, you have the port tuning capability within our app. So you can get inside the app and you contact us and we'll send them to you for free, these foam port plugs that you can plug any of the ports on a 2000 Pro and above and turn one of our ported subs into a sealed sub. And then you can utilize the app to also save presets. So if you have somebody that, in our living, we don't listen to a lot of music downstairs, and here I do, but I do sealed subs in here. But if I had a ported sub in here, what I could do is I could save my listening preferences for when I'm watching movies, when the subwoofer's totally open, and save a preset within our app. And that could be my movie preset. And then I could save a music preset where I'll open up my app here. Nobody send me any text or nothing. But I could get in here and sorry, I updated my app. And there we go. So I could go in here to port tuning, and you're never going to see this, so I apologize for trying to do this over here, but I can go into port tuning here, and I can actually change from ported to sealed. And you can see that it shows that those ports are plugged. Well, now I've just taken a larger cabinet ported subwoofer, and I have it operating like a sealed subwoofer. So I would then save that preset for maybe music listening. And all I would have to do is just remember to get up and put the port plugs in and out. And I see my wife just sent me a text. So good try, babe. So you can actually have it operate as sealed or ported. And there's not really a lot of product out there that does that. And so I see Kanga's asking a question here. What it does is it completely changes the DSP operation of the amplifier. It's not just plugging the ports. It's literally changing the way the signal path is recognized and adjusted. So it's really making it a couple different subwoofers. And so if you have any of our newer models, the 2000 Pro and above, any of the ported models can operate as 3 separate subs. A completely open ported subwoofer for that deep, huge, thunderous, over-the-top IMAX level bass. You can do extended mode where you plug one of the ports and it kind of takes care of nulls and variances in sound based on your room, or if you have kind of an overabundance of bass. And then the third mode would be sealed, where you plug it all up and it operates as a sealed sub, but it's a larger sealed cabinet sub. So there is a little more volume to it.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's funny. We've had people reach out to us before. It's like, I have a ported subwoofer. It's not an SVS brand, but I want to know if I like stuffed socks or a stuffed animal in the ports, is it going to actually make it more like a sealed subwoofer? And kind of, but it's not changing the tuning frequency. So we have 3 unique tuning frequencies when you run into 3 different, ported, sealed, or partial mode. And it actually, like Larry was saying, provides 3 different subwoofers in terms of the sound quality, but they're all tuned to that specific frequency with having the port plug. So it's a little bit different than, stuffing a pair of socks in there, as some people might find out.
Is there any truth to what people are saying? If you want something for music, go with a sealed because the bass is tighter. Any truth to that?
Not really. It's kind of a personal preference, and also depends on the music you're listening to. If you're listening to EDM, it's not typically super tight, quick bass. It's normally longer bass notes or the thumps. If you're doing rock, it's normally bass from a guitar or a snare drum. Now, if you're doing something that's a classical tune or jazz or R&B, that is more of a quicker, more repetitious bass. So that's where somebody may prefer the sound of a sealed sub, but play with them, kind of figure out which one you like. I tend to do sealed subs in the house just because they're smaller, but we do have a cylindrical sub downstairs in the living room because it's able to be
smaller footprint.
Yeah, smaller footprint, but being ported because we have an open concept living room, it shakes the whole house at much lower volumes than the sealed subs do throughout the rest of the house.
Yeah, and I would say, with sealed cabinet subwoofers, it really comes down to the transient speed. Like, that is one of the big gains you get over a ported subwoofer. And with that quickness, that musicality, you're trading off a little bit of low frequency extension, a little bit of output that you would get with a ported subwoofer. But of course, you're also getting a subwoofer that's about twice the size when you're using a ported subwoofer. So, that's where it's often, people make that jump to say that a sealed is better for music because it's snappier, it's punchier, it hits you much quicker, and it can play the notes, much more accurately. But again, you're trading off a little bit of that, massive output and just a deep bass extension that you get with a ported.
Yeah. And I see the question there about the port plugs. We don't include them in the boxes anymore because a lot of people that really weren't using them. So if any of you have purchased any of the subs that need the port plugs, you just simply contact us via email, chat, phone, whatever, and we'll just send them to you for free.
Yep.
But you need to have a model that's a 2000 Pro through a 16 Ultra with the Subwoofer control app so that you can make those adjustments.
And I did see somebody ask, what do I have at home? I have an SB1000 in my listening room behind me, which is paired with a pair of Prime Wireless powered speakers. And then upstairs, I have an SB3000 that's paired with a pair of Prime Pinnacles. So I have two channel systems. And I'm in the process of switching out to a new surround system with some new gear. So that will be in place soon. But SB1000, SB3000, again, not a huge house on here. So that's kind of what was the biggest factor in choosing those models.
Key advantages. I'll let you start.
That's a good one.
Camera through to me. So let's go back.
So I mean, this isn't necessarily, I'm not trying to call out any competition, but I think our recipe for designing subwoofers really comes down to 5 different factors. And, there's a notion out there with, I guess, more so with bass heads than maybe with manufacturers, that subwoofers are more of like a tractor pull. It's like, how deep can you go and how loud can you play? And it's like, that's what matters when you're buying a subwoofer. And, if you can go the loudest and you can play the lowest, then that's the best subwoofer, out there. And certainly that is 1 and 1A in terms of what we look for when we're designing subwoofers. It needs to hit below that level of audibility, 20 hertz and below, which is bass that you can feel, sound that you can actually feel in your chest and, shake your pant legs a little bit. And then obviously we need output. You need to be able to play it at any volume you want and have it sound clear, distortion free, and keep up with your speakers, when you're getting those moments that really call for that, just jarring bass experience. But as I mentioned before, transient speed, incredibly important. If you have a subwoofer that can't keep up with your speakers, you're going to have this sort of blurred, muddy, what are the other words?
Slow, sloppy.
Boomy, slow, sloppy. Like that's the sound
loose.
that you sort of get.
Nobody wants a loose subwoofer.
Not touching that.
Right.
True. Don't want to lose subwoofer.
Oh,
and so I think it can be a distracting experience when it can't keep up with your full range speakers or even bookshelves or satellites, whatever you're running. And then beyond that, it's accuracy and frequency response. It's like it's not just playing the notes that you expect, but it's playing them at the right volume and with the right tempo, like to keep up with the actual speakers and the content, whatever source material you're playing. Right. It has to not only play tonally accurate, but with the time alignment and all those factors, it has to just perfectly blend in with your speakers, like I was saying earlier, and make it sound like the bass is coming from all the speakers at once. And Larry, what did I leave out? Did I leave something out?
Well, I think part of it was also, how we differ from everybody else too. So that's our philosophy on subs, but we really focus on you all. We are a very much customer-centric brand, whether it's the way we interact with you guys on social media, do stuff like this with these guys here, our warranty on our subwoofers and speakers, which goes above and beyond really anything else that's out there. Our sound experts service team that are there, regular hours, and it's real people taking care of people for, we have people that call in that have 20-year-old subs, and we find a way to help them out to take care of them. The things that we're doing with creating new product, we don't just slap a new color on it and say, hey, it's new. It's completely from the ground up. Like when we went from the 2000 series to the 2000 Pro, yes, they look similar in regards to the cabinet, but that's it. The driver's different. The amplifier's different. It added more features. Same thing coming down the road with some of the other stuff that, we have coming down a pipe. It's not just a new finish or taking something away to hit a price point. That's not what we do.
Yeah, and we're not going to be a brand that's going to launch, 5-10 new products a year. We're going to have 2 to 3 to 4, but we're going to try to make them, best bang for the buck or best in class, whatever it is that we can do to make that product stand out. It's not going to be just a rebadge of an existing product. So that's a little bit, sort of why it takes us longer, why we don't have as many product launches. But we support them for a long time. We don't want people to have that sort of regret where they, they get a product and then 2 months later, here's a new version. And it's like, well, why did I bother? So it's a philosophy that we have to try to just create, legacy products that are truly going to have a legacy.
And also, a few people here said the app that you have, the DSP, really nice gloss paint, and your speakers could possibly survive a storage fire when none of the others
There's
don't.
video evidence.
Things like that. I would say, somebody here is asking about servo, and I would suspect that what you'd say is, on your Ultra, you have a huge voice coil to kind of do the work of that, right?
Yeah, the 16 Ultra has an 8-inch voice coil, and you really don't see that in really much anything that's out there. So it can handle anything you're going to throw at it. Power, volume, all that. Yeah, the Bill of Rights I see somebody bringing up there. We protect you.
Yeah.
And even like our retail partners, we're very selective with where our stuff is on display. It's not just in every retail store across the country. We want you to be able to walk in and talk with somebody that hopefully I or my counterpart Doug, who is our field training manager, we've interacted with and taught them about our brand, or have gone through one of my virtual trainings, and that way that they can deliver that information to you. Same thing when we share information with these guys here on YouTube. They get all the same info so that they can educate all of you as well. And we want to make sure that you understand who we are, why we do what we do, and then be there for you.
Yeah.
And Nick, I just saw your head nod when this comment came up, so I'm just taking some notes here.
Put him on the spot. Or
I was probably
he was nodding at something totally different.
I don't think it was not.
I knew it. The other thing I like about you guys is you have like your little trade-in upgrade situation, because you're like little bass dealers. Get them with the $500 subwoofer, and then they're like, oh, what if I spend more?
Kind of hooked.
Yeah. So that's always nice too, because I can sell anything on eBay real quick, but a lot of people don't want to deal with that, or find somebody to give this to, or let me try to sell it to my neighbor or whatever. Like, I want to get, the 2000 Pro now. I need to, liquidate this thing. So I think that's another huge service that you guys offer.
And I mean, look at us. We all know the temptations of upgrade-itis. It's like, especially in this hi-fi, world of audio, it's like, you're always making tweaks. You're always thinking like, can I get a little bit more out? And there is often a time when you get to the point where like, this is good enough for me. This is awesome. Like, I got everything I need. It's perfect. But there's a lot of people out there who just, incrementally want to work their way up and get a little bit better. So we want to take care of people and put it in a way that's easy for them, and kind of charts the path out so they don't have any sort of regret about choosing SVS. And I think that's what that's sort of about. And just to go back to what Larry was saying too, and what you guys were saying, I throw a shout out to my boss, Gary Yakubian, because he is one of those business leaders who does lead by example. Like, he puts himself on the front line. And there's not a lot of CEOs, and look outside the audio industry even, who are willing to have their email on the Contact Us page or on our Bill of Rights page and say, hey, you have a problem, reach out to me directly. And he will respond to you. Like, don't, get that mistaken. So, I think it starts from the top with SVS, and he's bred a culture of, one, accountability, but two, like, we all just love this stuff. Like, we're just into it. So, all of those things sort of play off each other. And it's fun coming to work when you do that. And, I think that permeates sort of outside of our own little SVS family.
I know, man. I love working on a review of subwoofers, because that just means I get to watch movies all day in the living room, and my wife comes out of the master bedroom. Are you done yet? Why is it so loud?
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's
How
funny,
many movies are you going to watch?
Yeah.
Is this work? How does this work?
I was talking to a reviewer one time, and he's like, you know what? I just despise AV receiver reviews so much because there's so much involved. But like, give me a subwoofer. Let me just plug it in, get it in the right place, and crank it. And like, that's a review I can get behind. So, it's funny how that works. The more
put a home
features,
subwoofer in a car, right?
Yeah,
Do some silly stuff with it. Show the excursion.
Put it up on the ceiling or something.
It's pretty easy. And another thing is your happy hours, right? The fact that you're so quick to adapt. So I think that's just a perfect example of that. Is,
Definitely.
Things changed and you're so quick to, I think you're one of the first ones to like, all right, let's just start doing these happy hours.
I think so.
Right? So, some folks are still thinking about maybe they should do it, other companies. So as a company, I find that you guys are very quick to adapt to new things. And I think that says a lot about, why somebody would want to invest in SVS products, right? If you want a company that, where they're quick to adapt. And also, I think people like the giveaways. You guys are also doing giveaway here, right?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
You guys are doing a PB 2000 Pro and a Prime wireless speaker system. And I saw on your Instagram somebody commented, "Hey, I can't get into this giveaway. The giveaways will be open after the event is over, right? So it'll be open to everyone. You'll be able to do that. So it's not.
We'll make sure we respond to that one. Let them know to get in there and enter.
Cool. I let them know also. But yeah, cool, for the attendees, you can actually access it right now. Just to get that done. It's on the Q4 giveaways on the Hi-Fi Summit.
So here it is. Here's the challenge from Leland. Convince me. I'm currently in the market to buy a new dual sub. It's down to USVS and the Rel HT1508. Why should I buy SVS? Ooh.
Put him on the spot for $5.
Let's go. Let's go.
Larry, you want to
do it?
So I know that product pretty well because it's in rooms where ours are. So I'll give you a couple of thought processes. If you're looking at two of those, I'd say our 3000 or even 2000 Pro would be a very comparative model in regards to frequency, volume, output, capability. But where you're going to differ will be the capabilities with the subwoofer control app, the balancing capabilities, the presets, I can go on and on. You just look at the app. So let's just look at the app in particular. I can do variable phase control by point. So if you're going to be doing multiple subs, sometimes phase control can be a bit of an issue. And most every subwoofer on the market, it's either 0 or 180 for phase control. So if you have something where your subwoofer has to go kind of off the wall, maybe a quarter way up on one side and a third way up on the other, well, you can't just do 0 or 180 there. It wouldn't match up right. So I don't want to get too terribly geeky, but having 0 to 180 degree phase control in one increment. So I can do one that's 33 degrees, one that's 45 degrees, or 62, whatever. Then you get into parametric EQs and bass management, and you can even change your slope on the bass. All these things that most people probably don't even think about or care about, but it's in our app. And if you don't understand what I just said, inside the app, there's actually a tutorial that walks you through what each feature set is. And if that still doesn't help you, you can contact our service guys 7 days a week, and they'll literally walk you through setting it up on your receiver, doing single driver, doing double subs, whatever. So for the cost of some of our competitive products that are out there, you can do 2 of ours and come away with a lot more, or just do 2 of ours that are similar price points to what you're looking at, and you'll really see. But where I think our products shine is whatever cost you're looking at, and most of our competitor subs, ours that will offer typically more will be half the price.
And I'll add on to that too. I mean, it sounds like this person's probably considering a sealed cabinet subwoofer. And one of the things that we work really, really hard at is a frequency response curve that takes advantage of room gain. So when you place a sealed cabinet subwoofer in a room, you can actually amplify the output and get a little bit deeper bass extension just based on how the frequency response curve and how it actually interacts with the room. And so I think, the way that we actually tune our subwoofers, our sealed cabinet subwoofers, is meant to optimize. It's not just room gain, which can actually be boomy. You corner load your subwoofer, a lot of times you get that rah, 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 and it's a little boomy, it's a little inaccurate. But what we do is like acoustically tuned room gain. So you're getting more output, deeper bass extension, but it's not that sort of boomy one note bass. It's actually follows throughout the entire octave of that, sort of lower hertz range. So I would argue that our subwoofers are specially sort of designed to really take advantage of room gain and give you more than what you would even expect, given the cabinet size, given the driver, given the amplifier power. And so that's an advantage, not just over, the brand mentioned, but any subwoofer who doesn't put that much attention to detail when it comes to, the frequency response.
Yeah, and I see that Leland is an engineer, so you got what I was talking about there. But I I personally, I think our SB3000 or PB3000 is really kind of a home run against most anything you're going to look at in the sub $2,000 range. And I saw somebody asking earlier about XLR on the 3000 series. That's part of the benefit of going to the model above the 4000. You get XLR, you get the front panel control, you get the IR capabilities as well, which is where you can really have some fun to get it into your system. And all of you guys asking for end walls. I think you've probably seen us or heard us tease a category of in-wall product that we will be announcing at the beginning of the year. It will not be speakers, but you know, we've talked about it enough on our happy hours that I think, Nick, you and I are probably comfortable enough saying, or maybe you're not. I'm going to be, though. We will be announcing an in-wall subwoofer at about the first.
Actually, we have a little breaking news when it comes to that. Not that we're launching it, but our lead engineer Smith Freeman has actually installed the very first SVS in-wall subwoofer in his garage.
There you go.
So currently, that is one of the applications where it's being tested, as well as, you know, the acoustic areas that we do our testing as well. But we, you know, have put it in a real world environment, because that's a big part of our testing. We do both the anechoic chambers, we do all of the sort of scientific testing, but then we also put it in real world environments. And there is an actual in-wall SVS subwoofer out in the wild right now. So we'll report back soon.
Yeah.
Put that in your garage, man. That's rad.
Well, it's funny. He's a climber, and he's built a climbing kit in his garage, and he said he's had to go by and already adjust some of the bolts on it. So it will be a real SVS subwoofer experience. And I think that's where a lot of people tend to miss on end walls. It's more mid-bass, and that's not what we're shooting for here. We want this to be right in line with everything else that we make.
You want it to be cheek splitting.
20 hertz.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Yeah, so
I
didn't get much sleep last night.
Larry, that'll be the new SBS merch. Cheek splitting,
cheek splitting. There it is. So somebody asked the question if the app with DSP, is that a good replacement for a mini DSP?
You can do both. I personally don't do anything with mini DSP or microphones or any of that stuff, because I've gotten to where I know how they should sound. I'm sure it could obviously get better if I took the time to do it, but I get my room kind of the way I want it. And, you know, like you guys doing reviews, I change my gear pretty frequently, so I tend to not do the mini DSPs and all that. But I sit down and I love what Odyssey offers, and then I just tweet out of it after. And my family hates it, because when you got a large family and a lot of dogs, you got to kick them out of the rooms for a while, and it can get a little time consuming. So if you had the time and opportunity to do some mini DSP, you would just use it in conjunction with our app to do even more. And I think each of you have done that in some reviews.
I think it's mini DSP is handy if you have multiple subs, right? Yeah. Just to do a little bit more tweaking with regards to that. I think your app is very handy when it comes to if you're doing a 2-channel setup and you may not have a integrated amp with anything, as far as, you know, it might have a subwoofer output, but that's it, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you blend that to your speakers if the sub doesn't have the capability? And so that's what your app allows. I think that's very useful. How many bands on your PEQ on the app?
I want to remember.
I think it's 3, right?
Yeah. It's 3. Yeah, I want to say 3. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't play with the PEQ all that often in my house because I'm doing more music. But if you can see that, I'm waiting on my wife to send another text. We've got 3 parametric EQs, and whenever you're on the main page of the app, there's these presets, and you probably can't see that, but just pretend you can see that says music, movie, custom, and default. Right. And when you go into the music mode, it's just kind of flat and not really implementing any curves. But whenever you go into our music preset, it automatically kicks in the parametric EQ for music, because the curve of bass for music is very different than that of movies. And then you can get in there and adjust it however you choose. Like when I'm in a retail store, and we go into a space that's very 2-channel centric. There's a lot of guys that don't listen to subs on 2-channel. That's your prerogative, and it's cool, and that's kind of the way it's always been. But no matter the speakers you have, they're not as capable as a subwoofer when it comes to producing bass, in particular, most stuff under 40 hertz. So even adding an SB1000 to a pair of, speakers that can go down in the, the 40, 30 hertz range, it's going to change your experience. So I will actually save a preset. You guys all know them, the Diamond 803s from Bowers. That's where our 16 Ultra is partnered with almost every one of our retail stores. And I will save a preset for the blend, like you were talking about, Joe, with that's properly blended with a 50 hertz blend with those speakers, the proper bass roll off and curve. And then I will save a preset to where it's perfectly blended, volume matched, all that. And then I'll save one where it's off, as opposed to a lot of people turning it off and on. And then you can hear how much bigger your sound experience gets, how much bigger your sound stage gets, how much more detail and emotion there is in what you're listening to. And it's a great experience. And then you never want to listen to music without a sub.
That app came in super handy when I was demoing your SB3000 at that one event.
Show.
Yeah, because I had it connected to some desktop speakers, right?
Vanitude?
And yeah, so I had it sub out, and of course that doesn't have any options as far as like how to tweak the sub. And so I had the sub in the corner. It was in this random hotel room, and so of course, depending on the placement, sound's not going to be optimal. But I was able to get a U-Mic one, $99 calibrated mic. I used REW free software, and I was able to kind of get an idea what it was doing within the room. And then it said these are the things that you need to do to fix it. And then I was able to just pop those into the EQ, into the app, and there it is, corrected, blended, So you can do a lot with that app.
That after that show, we were shaking the crap out of that whole hotel room with that SB3000. That was a lot of fun.
Seeing the pictures on the wall you guys were filming. It was quite an experience.
Doing 18 hertz test tones, right?
Yeah,
that's right. I do want to address this question though, because we talked a lot about subwoofers, but this is actually referencing the most popular SVS speaker that we currently offer, and that's our Prime Elevation. It looks like Larry's trying to get us a shot there. So basically, this is a speaker that we designed mostly for Dolby Atmos, DTS:X, and height effects. It's got an angled front baffle. It's got a bracket on the back, which allows you to easily mount it to a wall or the ceiling. And basically, with the angled front baffle, it gives you direct radiating height effects. So instead of having that sort of ceiling bounce approach where some of those toppers that go on top of a tower speaker and sort of beam the sound off the ceiling, and then theoretically it's supposed to hit the ceiling and bounce back to your ears and convince you you're hearing sound from overhead. We actually took the approach of making an angled front baffle that would just direct radiate the sound right to your listening area. And the question that these folks are asking is whether it can be put on its side. And the answer is absolutely. The way the bracket's set up, you can put it on, mount it on its side, and whether it's angled sort of in front of you and towards the listening area or behind you towards the listening area, it provides just a very versatile surround speaker solution. And, it's just an option that allows you to deal with imperfect rooms, which I think most people don't have a perfect square, a perfect rectangle to build a home theater. It allows you to put it on, say a post or, a high on a sidewall, wherever it is you need to put that speaker, it can mount there pretty easily.
Yeah, the Elevation is such a cool speaker. And I saw somebody asking about where it can be used. It can be your front, it can be your heights, it can be your surrounds, it can be your sides, it can be your center channel down below a screen, kind of coming up into the room. I've even seen people wire them in parallel, kind of side by side or back to back, however you choose to put it, and do it like a bipole dipole speaker. So, and I see another question there. Can you use fronts as any speaker or centers as really anything? You can use a center channel for anything, but we'd typically probably recommend you do a bookshelf or a tower in lieu of a center channel.
We've had people use the centers as surrounds, though. Even they've taken our ultra centers and then put them vertically as surrounds. So as long as those tweeters are around your level, it's going to be okay. It's just the form factor doesn't necessarily fit with most applications.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense in that kind of a situation.
Yeah. But, so I just recently, earlier this week, I shared a home theater tour of a gentleman that's in the chat, and he had a question. He's got the Prime Elevations, and he said he wasn't aware of the trade-in option. Like, how does that work?
So
if somebody
typically
wants to trade in something.
Yeah, you would have to buy direct from the SVS website, and typically it's a year. And if you save your original packaging, it's going to save you some money because otherwise we're going to have to send you packaging. You will pay shipping to have it returned, but we'll give you either full credit or partial credit, depending on the condition of the speakers, towards the purchase of the next model up. And again, even folks who have had their product for over a year, we'll try to work with you. You know, say you've had a PB16 or, well, probably you wouldn't upgrade.
It's like, where are we
you
going
have
from there?
a PB
That's a hint.
2000 Pro, and you want to upgrade to a 3000 or a 16 or whatever. You know, we'll basically allow you and figure out what we can do, even if it's after that year-long period. It's just part of, you know, again, that aspiration and trying to make the best out of people's systems. So yeah, it's save your packaging, I will say, if you have a notion that you might actually trade up. But other than that, we just try to make it as easy as possible.
See, Nick, I'm reading a lot into this little interview here because, like, he's like, you upgrade from the PB16. We got great things coming in 2021. So
you know what's funny?
Like,
so many people, like, there's so many people who are like, oh, when are you going to do that dual 32, or when are you going to make that 20-inch? When are you going to? And it's like, I don't want to like besmirch those people who love just that massive subwoofer, but the you know, as a marketing person, the market for that isn't as big as,
really,
let's say, a 12-inch subwoofer.
100%.
So, you know, we want to make products that are going to surprise and delight people, but a good amount of people, not just like the serious hardcore people who are like, you guys made the best subwoofer in the history of man and you sold 5 of them. And it's like, oh, that's good, but it's not great for business. So we love you guys. We'll get there, but don't hold your breath on a PB32.
PB32.
And I just saw that question you just threw up from Horsepower Junkie about the mount. So this is the mount for the elevation, and I put it up while Nick was talking. It doesn't go in front of the port at all. It's actually below the port. And what the mount allows you to do, you can see these keyholes here. Depending on which way the speaker needs to face, this goes on the wall. And the port, I wish I had one down, but it's up there on my wall. The port is designed to be against the wall and use the wall for resonance, and it doesn't really add anything or take anything away from the sound. It's because the cabinet is large. And if you look at an in-ceiling, there you go. If you look at an in-ceiling or in-wall speaker that's in this price range, say 200 each, it's going to be a speaker you're crossing over at about 150 or 200 hertz. And so it's not a very capable speaker. It's really more for background, and that's really about it. These guys at 400 for the pair, you can cross them over at 80 or 100 hertz, use them as front, center, surrounds, heights, you name it. Put them on your ceilings, put them on your walls, put them on stands. They're great tabletop speakers. Perfect timing. They're great to go on a tabletop for music. Like I had a buddy of mine that works in Florida, and he was calling me wanting to do a tabletop system with a sound bass amplifier. So I recommended he do the sound bass with a pair of elevations on his desk, because then it kind of comes up not only directly at you for 2-channel listening, but as you see there, for a great room filling experience as well.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason it's become our most popular model is it's very neutral as well. You know, we tried to make it accurate, neutral. So obviously people are mixing this with brands from other speakers who are doing maybe those toppers, you know, ceiling bounce, which just isn't quite as convincing. And, you know, I think that's helped it become so popular as a Dolby Atmos height effect speaker, the sense that it is very neutral and it can sort of blend with most speaker systems.
You know, I love those things. So, you know, I'd buy more, but I don't need any more.
I think somebody asked if they could do like an 11-channel system with all prime elevations. I mean, you could, you absolutely could if you truly desired that, you know. So, you know, if that's your role, then go for it. Get a nice sub to go with that to get those, you know, 30 hertz and below notes. But yeah,
and
why not?
That would be a huge step up over like these small satellite sub combos. I mean, like massive improvement. You know what I'm saying? Over the real tiny ones.
Yeah,
so,
the little plastic home theater box.
Yeah, you know, I mean, just huge. And for the value that you're getting for $400 for the pair, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I think as an upgrade path, you know, you can start with those even as like fronts and surrounds, and then maybe you move them to just be height effects if you get a pair of bookshelves or towers. You know, so it gives you a lot of versatility, I think, you know, for down the road if you are going to have that upgrade path where, you know, you need to start maybe a little smaller and then build up to something a little bit more, you know, hardcore with bigger speakers and more output.
That's a great question from Adam. You want to address that?
Would you say mounting elevation on ceiling are better than in-ceiling options?
Well, I think the easy answer could be a couple different routes, but I'd say yes for a couple reasons. One, if you can once your wire's in place, mounting the elevations is as simple as putting in those 4 screws. That's it. And if you look at what it takes to install an in-ceiling option, you're talking back boxes in some cases, cutting massive holes in your ceilings. And that's something that doesn't go with you when you move. You typically leave that behind. The elevation, if you compare to all the other $400 pairs of in-ceiling speakers, there's really not much out there that's going to sound like that. I've listened to a bunch of in-ceiling and in-wall speakers, and to get something, and being in a retail store where the guys are talking to me as well, we're talking $800, $900 a piece to get some of the frequency capabilities that these are able to do at $400 for the pair. Plus, this includes the mounting hardware. It can go on a wall. It can go on a ceiling. And because of the flexibility, we call it the world's most versatile speaker because it really can go anywhere.
I was just going to ask a quick question on that. As far as mounting, typically something, especially on the ceiling, you want to make sure that gets on the stud. But how do you what recommendations to safely mount that to your ceiling do you recommend?
Well, they have a special ceiling mount, don't you?
Yeah, so I've got it right here too. So when you get the mount, this is what so it goes in keyhole style. So it's kind of locked in place there. I'm trying to get some light so you can see that. But this piece comes with it. This is our ceiling lock, and it just literally goes right over it and prevents the keyhole from shifting. So if you put it on the ceiling, what it does is it locks it in place. And you can see there now I've got it installed right where nothing's moving. So you don't have to worry about a 9-pound speaker falling on your head. But because it's directional, it is going to give you more capability than an in-ceiling speaker that's typically firing down. Even if it has an angled tweeter or whatever, you're going to get more separation, more blending between your front and rear speakers, more of that immersive bubble. And if you go to movie theater, speakers aren't built into the ceilings and the walls.
Right.
They're boxes hanging on the walls, hanging on the ceiling.
And then
just to add on to what you said, if you are going on the ceiling, you definitely want to have at least 2 of those screws in the bracket into a stud. Yeah, you don't like the drywall anchors are fine if you're using it on a sidewall. But if you're going into the ceiling, make sure you get at least 2 of those screws into the stud because that bracket the little insert will keep the speaker from coming loose, but the bracket could always rip your drywall depending on how thick it is.
That was my biggest concern because last thing you want is a ceiling speaker landing on somebody's head.
You and me both.
Not good. It kind of ruins the movie. Makes it more impactful though. That's for sure.
Definitely more impactful.
Yes.
A helicopter was flying over me and I got hit in the head.
Dropped a bomb.
Hey, for that trade-in program, does it work for speakers that have been in some kind of fire or anything like that?
Well, you know what? If you put a year, we'll give you a fair trade-in value.
Fair trade.
Depending on how much melting has happened, but yeah, if they work, we'll figure out a way to take care of you. That's what we always say.
You need to put that.
We'll always figure out a way to take care of you.
Put that in the SVS museum. That'll be worth money. SVS museum.
Oh man. So as far as the difference between the in-ceiling and the prime elevations, won't you get a better sound because like if those in-ceilings don't have a back box and in that price range, they don't come with like a backing box, do they?
No, not typically. Normally, I got to watch what I say here, but normally if you're in a particular price point, they're all very similar. And, there's not a ton of difference. And that's part of why we went this route is it's very different from everything else that's out there. The builder grade stuff that you get when you buy a house, that's very similar to other products that are in the price points there. And we're not shooting for that. We want the experience, whether you're buying our $2,000 a pair Ultra Towers or $135 satellite, which I hate calling a satellite because it's still a 9-pound bookshelf speaker, or the prime elevations, whatever. The experience, we want you to have a great experience from all of them. And if you're buying an in-ceiling or in-wall speaker just because it's price point, then you're missing out. And that's not what we want anybody to feel like.
Shout out to Spec of Tech, fellow YouTube reviewer. He asked, will you take an elevation speaker that has a little head blood on it for trade-in?
We prefer that you clean the DNA off before it comes back. But
and you have the box.
If we don't know any better, we're not going to say no.
Yeah, and if it's the black gloss, it'd probably wipe off pretty easy. The white gloss might get stained.
Yeah. Or if it's part of a police investigation, we also don't want it back. So.
No.
Yeah.
There it is. And that's why you buy SVS, because you get to interact with the Larry and a Nick.
No doubt.
One of us.
That's terrible, man.
It's good. I think it's gonna stick.
I think so. I can only hope.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Hey, you guys stick around. We're gonna ask you to be part of the VIP area over here, private VIP chat. So I'm gonna give you a link to that. If you are not already able to access that, you can still buy a ticket to go and talk to these guys in the private VIP chat. So yeah, we're up on an hour just right now.
Yeah,
pleasure having you guys on here, man.
Thank you guys so much.
I gotta say, you guys are truly like some of the hardest working people in our industry, and I'm not blowing smoke right now. I know how much goes into putting this show together, and I know a lot of folks out there are missing these hi-fi shows. So kudos to what you guys are doing. We're so happy to be just a part of it, and have some fun. We're not here to lecture you about what your system needs to be, but we had fun, and keep it up what you guys are doing, because it's making a big difference. And I think a lot of people want this knowledge now. They're out there, they're building their systems at home, they're stuck at home. So kudos to you guys, and thank you for doing what you're doing.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for that. And I always recommend SVS because, as Daryl's saying here, best customer support on the market. Look, if these guys are willing to interact and have fun, you don't think that they're gonna respond if you have an issue with your product? They definitely will. So this just proves that.
We'll find out a way to take care of you. And shout out to Ed Mullen, the head of our customer service. He is a legend, and I will always refer to him as a legend whenever I refer to him, because he's been around so long and he just does such a great job. So thank you for all the comments that are giving props to them. It's not something we take for granted at all.
Awesome.
Enjoy this.
Get all these in here. Take us out, Chana.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, day 4, the Hi-Fi Summit continues at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I believe. So we've got a 3-hour break. That is a healthy break. If you guys need to get some lunch and all that stuff, a nap. I actually have to finish my song that I'm supposed to debut tonight at the after party. So I got to get it off that computer and get it over into my DJ deck. So I got a little time for that. And of course, the Larry and Nick will be in the video chat. So we'll see you guys there. Thanks again, fellas. And we'll see everybody in just a few.
Thanks, guys.